What's up, boys? It's Nick from Team Table 501 here. I'm the king of the scrubs, and today I'm going to bring you my Domain Monarch deck profile post-Dark Saviors. What that means is that the Sky Striker cards are now legal, and it means that this deck is more fucking shit than it ever was. Sky Striker is a horrendous matchup for this deck, and considering it's probably one of the best decks, if not the best deck in the game at the moment, yeah, you're gonna, the only reason you could maybe get away with playing this deck at a regional is the cards are incredibly expensive. Just to get the engines, just to get, the engages, the afterburners, and all that is around $450. So a lot of people aren't willing to spend that kind of money. But the people who want the cards and who want to play the deck or are going to play the deck already are going to pick up the cards. So that's not really much of a deterrence there. So you're going to have to play against the deck eventually. And the matchup is just really bad for this deck. They have access to effect negation. They have access to disruption for your floodgate spells. It's really hard for you to get to anything to stick on the board in that matchup, and that's really what you need to do. And against Altergeist, just don't even want to bother about that shit. So I would only really play this deck at a locals, but in theory, you could get away with it at a regional. And if you get the right matchups, you could do well. But enough of my blabbering. The deck list is in the description for just in case you want the deck list. My Twitter and Facebook are in the description as well. Go follow me. Go friend me. I post some cool shit. Without further ado, let's get into the deck list. That should be good enough. Lower the lid. Perfect. Alright. So for the main deck, 1 Aether. Aether is the nuts. I mean, there's a reason she's still at 1. She's the best card in the deck. 2,800, you contribute summon her on your opponent's turn, get a guy out of the deck, and this is kind of dumb, yeah, so 1 Aether. 3 Erebus. This card, this is like your win condition. It will be your win condition until this bitch comes back, but the fact that this doesn't target is so relevant because your opponent has to respond with the ability or with the effect on the chain. So, if I were to go summon Erebus, activate effect, my opponent has to chain all their stuff to Erebus. Otherwise, once his ability starts resolving, I get to shuffle the card back, and there's nothing they can do about it. And people keep forgetting this. Erebus can shuffle a card in the graveyard back into the deck, which is super relevant if your opponent has a card like Fairy Tale Snow, because it means that they can't chain Fairy Tale Snow to summon her to the field. So, or you can just clear your opponent's graveyard of a really relevant spell, like Engage or Afterburner, or the Mecha Hornet, whatever the fuck its name is. That guy. But yeah, this card's great. You can get it back from the graveyard. Really good. And then that's it for the 8 stars. On to the 6 stars. I played 2 Kraz. I originally was only playing 1 of this card, but I kept missing it in testing. Return's only at 1 in this deck list because, let's face it, Return is awful. Kraz is awful. This card keeps getting worse and worse as the game keeps advancing because your opponent is making such a massive board and they're doing so many degenerate plays that Kraz just doesn't do enough. So, and if your opponent, you don't care about the extra link, which is cool, but even if your opponent ends Trigate, Sleeper, Firewall, and some other degenerate bullshit, Kraz popping it to give them 2 cards is not what you want to do, because they're just going to use those cards to kill you. So, I like it at 2. And again, you can get it with Aether, you can get it with Return. 2, Majesty's Fiend. I feel like this is kind of mandatory right now. Monster effects are where it's at, and Majesty's Fiend just says, fuck you to everything. Oh, hi, Sky Striker. Yeah, none of your effects can activate. Go suck a dick. They can still kill this with a spell, but if you have March, then they can't. So there's that. Oh, hi, Altergeist. Yeah, you can't multi-faker for shit, fam. Trickstar. Yeah, nice try, Cantina. Go fuck yourself. They can't even activate hand traps while Fiend is on the field either. The card is so good. It sucks that you can't get it with Aether, but you can search it off Return and you can get it back from the graveyard with Erebus. So you definitely want to play 2 of this card. It's basically win condition number 2. And then this is the best card in the deck. It will continue to be the best card in the deck until we get Aether back or we get Stormforth back or some bullshit. This card is insane. This card is unfair. I've said that every time. I'll continue to say it because, believe it or not, a lot of decks, when you just go summon Vanity Speed, they don't have an out for it. Like Sky Striker, unless they have one of their spells, like Vanity's March is game against that deck because they can't get their Link monsters to shrink it and they can't use any other spells to blow it up. They basically need Afterburner to pop the March, and then they need the other spell that can negate Vanity Speed's effect. So, and against Altergeist, they can't really do anything about it. Against Trickstar, they can't really do anything about it. So, this card is game. That's it for the Monarchs. Onto the fodder. 3 Edia, 3 Eidos. You know, Called by the Grave. They're not Called by the Grave. Ash exists, Ogre exists, Droll exists. You just have to play these cards. It sucks. These cards are awful, but there's not much you can do about it. Edia, like, in a bubble is fucking insane. But because all these hand traps exist, and Impermanence is a card, Impermanence also really shuts down this deck, because now, even if your opponent doesn't have a hand trap, they can just Impermanence you, and now you can't get Tribute Fodder going. So, like, these cards you just kind of have to play. And now, we're in such a back row heavy format, you kind of just have to play 3 Link Slayer. Like, just out of principle, like, this card probably should be played at 3 in every Monarch deck from this point. Like, the fact that you can just discard dead cards to pop your opponent's spells and traps is important, and this is 2K, so, like, it can attack over stuff, which is relevant. So, like, this is the best Tribute Fodder in the deck, honestly. That's it for the monsters. Onto the spells. 3 domain, your win button. This card's unfair. Like, there's so many ways to remove it, but if it sticks, your opponent just loses. And the 800 attack it gets from battle is actually really relevant against decks like Dinosaur and Sky Striker, where they can, like, modify attack. And Conductor has 3,500, so having a 3,600 Erebus punch it is really cool. Then 3 Tenacity. Go search your cards. That's it for the 3-ofs. Onto the 1-ofs. I play a lot of 1-ofs. Pantheism, because it's broken. Stormforth. If anybody from Konami ever watches this video, just put Stormforth to 3. Masterpiece is gone. Draco is basically off of the planet. Just put Stormforth back to 3. I would not care if they banned Pantheism and Aether. As long as this comes back to 3, I'll play this deck. Like, I will play this deck at a regional. No shit. Like, this is the best card in the deck. The 1 return. 1 March, you gotta protect your floodgates. And then this is like one of the better cards now is Frost Blast. Just being able to get rid of back row is super important. And you can get rid of set monsters. So once you establish control, your opponent's going to like set a monster and set some back row, and Frost Blast can just get rid of all of it. Goods. Staple in this deck, honestly. Like, opening multiple sucks, which is why I'm only playing 2. But you can send a Pantheism to get a search. You can send Frost Blast to get rid of back row. You can send Prime. The card's pretty good. Then 39 is better than 40. Send Erebus or Edia. Add Edia to hand, summon Edia to field. If 1/1 gets ashed, you just cry. Those are like the holy trinity of spells. Like, you just have to play those 4 spells. And then 3 Prime. The card is really good. Being able to summon itself as a monster or being able to activate the effect to put cards back into your deck is really relevant. So 40 main. Batman for the side. 2 copies of Lancia. Evenly matched tells you to, lose. So you need this card out evenly matched. And then this is the spicy tech, I guess, is Spell Canceller. So for those of you who don't know what this card does, because it's old as dirt, I'll read it to you. Oh, I'm sorry. Spell Canceller is a level 5 wind machine with 1800 attack and 1600 defense. And the effect reads, as long as this card is face up on the field, spell cards cannot be activated, and the effects of all spell cards are also negated. So if you're able to get this card to stick against Sky Striker, they lose. And another card I'm side decking is the Monarch's Return, or the Monarch's Erupt, excuse me. So if you have Spell Canceller and the Monarch's Erupt on the field, you just win. Because they can't use spells and they can't use monster effects. They have no outs. Yeah, so spell cards cannot be activated, meaning they can't even just, like, activate them to get negated so they go to the graveyard. No, they can't use them at all. But the problem with Spell Canceller is that it negates your spells as well. So Domain gets locked out, and you can't use Return or Pantheism or any of those cards. So if you get Spell Canceller on the field, you need to combo with Monarch's Erupt. If not, the card, they can just go normal summon Ray, summon Shizuku, and Shizuku will shrink the Spell Canceller to where they can just attack over it. So there probably is a better way to protect it, but or if you're able to like get rid of all the rays or like can get them through their engages, then this card is really good. Like the card beats Sky Striker, but they have outs to it, so you have to be really careful when you play this card. Then Thestalos for Draco and Dinosaur, really just decks where you want the hand information and the burn damage. Zaborg, this card's actually really nuts because most of the people are cutting ogres from their deck list to play like Ash and Droll, and this card is more likely to resolve. But again, against a deck like Invoked, against a lot of rogue decks where they just need a lot of the cards in their extra deck, Zaborg can just rip it all apart. Especially against decks like Spiral and Goki, where you can take like the Isolde, the Firewall, the Double Helix, those Nightmare cards, and they literally just can't play at that point. And then Caius for going second. Then for more going second cards, the Dark Hole and the Brigeki, you just kind of have to play these cards. They're generic board wipes. 2 Called by the Grave. You need Edia to resolve. 2 Twin Twister for Goki and Sky Striker, and then 2 Monarchs are up. This card is the fucking tits. Like, I would main deck these, but there's just no room in the main. Like, this card is legit just game half the time you flip it. Like, Vanity's Fiend plus this is just game. So, a lot of decks just can't out that unless they have the spell and trap removal. Unless they have, like, a Regeki or an Evenly Matched or something like that where they can out one of the cards. Then you just win with this. And again, combo with Spell Canceller, Sky Striker literally loses. Unless they have, like, a Kaiju or something. But if they have a Kaiju, well, then you're getting got regardless. I mean, it's a searchable floodgate. Why would you not play this card? It's really good. And that does it for the Domain Monarch deck profile. Not much has changed with this deck, not gonna lie. I mean, it's pretty stereotypical until we get one of the cards back, either Pantheism, Stormforth, or Aether. And I really want to play this deck again. I really do. It's my favorite deck of all time. But unfortunately, the deck is just awful. There's not much we can do about it. It doesn't matter how hard we try, no matter how many consistency cards we throw in this deck. We are just not where we need to be in this, unfortunately. And even if this deck was full power, I don't even think it'd be that great because the deck still breaks regardless. Like, for those of you, if you haven't been playing long enough, I played during full power Monarch format. I was more of a scrub back then, but I did play during full power Monarch format. And even with 3 Pantheism, 3 Stormforth, and 3 Aether, you still bricked. So, like, even if we got those cards back, I don't think it would matter a lot, especially since we have cards like Ash, we have Droll, we have Infinite Impermanence, we have all these super powerful ways to stop the deck from establishing its field. But even then, OCG has full power Monarchs, but they also have 3 Max Cs, so there's that to consider as well. So, anyway, that's it for the deck profile. Leave your thoughts of it in the comment section down below. Like I said earlier, deck list in the description, Twitter and Facebook in the description. You know the jam. My name is Nick from Team Table 501. Thanks for watching, and get good, scrubs. I'll see you next time.